Hey everybody, Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. You guys know what it is. Listen, I am so excited because for one, I have a very special guest. That's the first thing. You're looking at the screen. If you love the Raiders, I know some people love the Raiders and they're diehard Raider fans no matter what. But today we're bringing you a special edition, a new series, an Ancestry Land new series. I have with me here my special guest. He's a property owner. We have a long history together. But we decided to really just connect and do something different. This is going to be our building series, okay? Everything you want to know about building on the land. We have so many landowners, new landowners being created daily or weekly, if monthly even, right? We have over 60 landowners, and a lot of times they buy land and they have no idea what to do next. I send them to county zoning, things like that, and it's a mess. They can't read it. They don't know what it is, what it means. It's translating gibberish. Well, I have an expert here. Not only is he an expert, he's also a property owner. He's also in construction and building. The list goes on. So I'm just going to introduce him, and I'm so honored to have him on. Mr. Lavelle Madden. Lavelle, can you just tell everybody who you are, where you come from, what your business is, your background, and I'm going to take it back from there.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to give a shout out to you, Mr. Phillip, and your lovely wife. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Anointed prophetic people. All right. So, yeah, my name is Lavelle. I'm originally from California. I reside now in Centennial, Colorado. I do have a business. I do remodels and new builds and construction. I work with a lot of realtors and builders and investors and people like yourselves. So, hey, how y'all doing? Glad to talk to you.
Good. And Lavelle, what's the name of your business? So we can just get your business promotion. Tell them where you are, how you can be reached. Let's get you up in the forefront because I know a lot of the people in California City, maybe people who are interested, they definitely want to maybe take this information down right now.
Sure. Yes, my company is in Colorado, Denver, Colorado. I've been registered since 2010 here. My number is 720-462-0654, and my company name is Madden Improvements.
All right. So if you guys see any Madden football CDs and stuff like that, he's on the construction side. Not the video.
I got 35 years. I got 35 years experience as well.
Awesome. So originally we there's a video, guys, and if you guys want to know more about Lavelle in connection with me, I'm just going to say Lavelle and I, he was interested in a property that I was selling out in California City first a few years ago. That's where we started at, and yes. Then yes. We were on Facebook. He didn't know who I was. And if you guys want, there's a link below to where there's a testimonial where Lavelle, he's now owned that property. There's a testimonial. It's got over almost 2,000 views. It's one of my most popular videos. And I'll put that link in the description below where you guys can see that, he's an actual property owner. So who best to have on your team as a resource than someone who can explain all the building issues that you might encounter. So today, and I thought about it, call Lavelle, say, hey man, you're doing all this construction, you do builds, you do remodels. How about we get together and explain to people how to make sense of the zoning? They get the land and they're like, what do I do with it? They always think the house, but they don't understand the steps. So I said, hey, let's do a building series where we talk about different aspects that our viewers may want to know. And I called Lavelle and we got up and here we are, right?
Yes.
All right. So Lavelle, let me just ask right now, setbacks, right? And the reason why I'm jumping to setbacks first is because when people think of an actual lot of land, think of it like a square or a rectangle shape. One of the things about the size and acreage of a lot that people need to first understand is actually, past the survey, you have your borders, but you can't just build anywhere on the lot. There are certain limitations or restrictions, like you have certain artificial boundaries that are created to allow access on the property, and you have to have setbacks. So, you might live in states like New York where every house is about this close to the next house. And that's where setbacks come in. So I thought to open the floor, and can you just tell the audience, just in layman's term, because we can always get the definition down, but we really want to explain to people like, how they understand in practice and what you do, what an actual setback is.
Sure. So first you're doing a survey. The survey is going to pretty much lay out your area.
Right.
Okay. So when your structure is built, your setbacks are going to be the minimum property line from the sides of the house. Normally the minimum is like 5 feet.
Right.
And then the front of the home normally is like 15 feet, which gives you room for your front yard and sidewalk and all that. And then the backyard is usually minimum 10 feet.
Got it.
So that's my experience with setbacks. And of course it varies based on how big your lot is, of course, but that would be the minimum in most states.
Right. Okay. So, and basically, just a little bit more, clarity, the setback is the distance from the edge of the property in the front or either side.
Like where you would put your fence normally.
Okay. Got it. The borders. And I would take it in the front of a property. Your setback would be, how far the front of your actual home would be from the driveway, correct?
Yes sir.
So why are setbacks, and people would say, well, why is a setback, why would they do that anyway? Why is a setback something that people have to adhere to in your experience?
Well, someone else is going to have a lot too, and you don't want to encroach upon their property. So the survey and the setbacks are going to establish what's your area and what's their area, period.
Okay. Got it. So it basically, when people think of like an actual home that's being established, this is where you see the front edge of the actual building in relation to the distance of the curb.
Yes.
And
because
then
I would assume the curb would be the city property at that point.
Right. And so sometimes people need to understand too, as well, there's a little bit of an extra layer with this that you have, when you have it, think of this box that I'm in, and I am the house. So the front yard is the distance. This is the setback, is the distance between the front of the yard, where the top of my shiny head is, to the top part of the border of the screen here. That has to be a certain distance. So you can't just put a manufactured home or your home to the right or to the left, because the distance on the side of the yard, right? Yes. Even if you don't have a fence in the front, there is an imaginary line that is your property. And when he says encroaching, when you say encroaching, what do you mean specifically by encroaching?
Well, even if you put a fence up, let's say someone that owns a lot next to yours and they want to put a fence up, they literally need to put that fence on that line, because let's just say they bring it in 1 foot. You guys can get into some litigation over just 1 foot, because that's your space. Right. And normally the survey will come out and he'll put pins down, right, and that pin will be, from pin to pin, would be that perimeter of your space.
Right. All right. So since people are watching this kind of screen, we have a dual screen up here, and this is a great way to look at it. Say I'm lot owner 1, and then Lavelle is lot owner 2. Well, when he's saying encroaching, the line that separates my screen from his screen, if I were to build my fence more on his side, then I would be encroaching. I would actually be on his property. And that's a very important thing, because you actually are taking away from someone else's lot space. So that's what he specifically means by encroaching. If you could look at the screens and think of it that way, you actually have to build within what is your area. And I think in some states, this becomes a real big problem, right? For people encroaching on other people's lot. Yeah,
there's been a lot of, I put up a lot of fences, and I've seen a lot of owners have issues with the fence, one side being facing one side, rough side. So they even work out paying for half of the fence, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's on that line, but yes.
Right. So a lot of times where I think this really comes into play is that if you're having a manufactured home, the setbacks are important, because the manufactured homes have different shapes, lengths, widths that are important to the relative size of your lot. So if you have a lot that is a little bit more narrow from front to back and is wider on the sides, then that could cut into your setback, right? But is that correct? Am I saying that more correct?
You're on point. The setbacks is still going to be a minimum
Right.
regardless, no matter how it's laid out. We did a foundation up in Winter Park out here, like on the side of a cliff,
Mm,
and the angle was so funky. The survey had to come out several times because
right.
it was it's weird. It's on a mountain.
Right. Right. So I mean, why is it, when you're in the minimum part of the setback, then that means all the other area, and when I say area, I mean, like, the shape of yard that you can utilize within your lot space now is usable area, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I say, the expert is the architect. I normally bug them a lot,
Hmm.
and the people down in planning, I normally try to make a friend down there because there's so many different questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So for our viewers and all the other California city, and actually, Lavelle has like more than one property. This guy's he's gonna be a land baron. I'm looking to get land from him one day.
Yes.
The properties, every state will have particularly some sort of setback, and I think it can be the variations on, like we say in the front yard. The front yard, for example, is 20 feet, let's say.
Yes.
So that is 20 feet from the front edge of the property to where your doorstep could be potentially, right?
Yes.
And then you have a setback on the side yard, which is equal on both sides in some cases, or they may say 30 feet on one side, 35 feet on another side.
Yes.
And that means that your side of your house has to be 35 feet away from your fence on the side. So, your window's not essentially next to your neighbor's window and they're taking a shower and you're looking at them take a shower and they're watching you take a shower, unless you're into that. I'm sure we could get a channel for that one. So, and then your backyard, your rear yard has to have a certain distance to as well.
Yes.
And that's the point of setbacks. Now, let me ask you another question, Lavelle, is that the location, so like a cul-de-sac, a corner lot, they may have a little extra variations with setbacks to be considered, correct?
Yes, and I am assuming that the architect is the one that's deciding what's the best angle for the position for that particular lot based on the covenant or the area.
Oh, okay, got it. So not all, even some lots, the placement of the home will be particular. It's not just, because it's a rectangle, you're going to have, like, your front door can actually be on the side of the side of the lot, correct?
Yes, depending on what that architect feels works for that area.
Got it. Okay, so basically the architect is an important person along with the surveyor, along with Lavelle, who everyone should call, by the way. Just to, do you do consultations, or, like, if anybody was in California and other places that wanted your business, how would they go about? Because I mean, just for our listeners or people who are looking to own land, who are bought land from me, how would they engage you on making sense of some of this stuff? Do you do, like, paid consultations, things like that, which, would help them? It would be a great use of your time and a great understanding and lesson for their time. Would that be something?
I have a partner.
Okay.
I have a partner. He's an educated brother. He's also an equestrian, somebody that has horses, and they do the rodeo and all that. But he is a planner. He does my project management. Okay. And he is an architect, so he does a lot of these things. So he's pretty much available. That's who I would kind of pass people on to, because he's educated, very articulate. I'm just a hands-on.
Got it.
This is just God made me to build.
Got it. All right. He's a man works with his hands, right? If you want to arc, let him build it, right?
Yes.
So I mean, I think the thing to understand is that different lots have different setbacks, and also your home placement, your front door, with an architect is always going to be kind of dependent on your setbacks. So it doesn't matter where you're, you know what, let me ask you another question too, because like you were talking about the side of a mountain, does the grade ever affect a setback? And when I say grade, please explain to everybody, because we don't want to assume everybody knows what a grade is on a particular lot.
Okay, so when we get into our grading, it changes with the foundation. Sometimes you got a foundation So it might be a step to it because there's a hill or whatever.
Right.
So that will affect the grade, because
Right.
no matter if we're setting this house on the side of a mountain, it needs to be level.
Right.
So the grade is going to determine how we're going to dig into, and also excavate. So how we dig into the mountain, how we cut it out to pour the foundation to
Right.
sit on it. So
Okay.
that has a lot to do with the grading, the foundation. In California, fortunately, there's a lot of crawl spaces, but here in Colorado, a lot of basement, 9-foot wall basement. So it's a lot of levels to the grading out here.
Got it. So and that's where I was going to get into, is that one of the great things about the lots we sell in California City is they're typically all flat. So when we're talking about grading, is like when you have any kind of elevation, or you ever see lots where the backyard kind of has a drop off, it's a little hilly, things like that. So let me ask this question. And someone might be thinking this already, if you're a listener, please give a like and chat. And hey guys, listen, show Lavelle some love. Get this video up to 2,000 views, just like the testimonial video, because this man is giving you all some great information here. Like, share, and subscribe to this video, and leave a comment below, just, telling us what information and value you got from this video. So this is my question. If a lot has a little bit of that grade, the elevation, and it goes up and there's a drop off, does the setback still exist even if the end of the slope is 35 feet, that slope before it gets to level on a lot? You get what I'm kind of saying?
Yes. So we'll pretty much grade the whole area where it's flat, and the areas that is not, we'll just grade it out further.
Got it.
So that area will be flat, continuous. And the good thing about the California lots, we're pretty much digging a perimeter around the land where the foundation is going to be, and it's like normally like about 3 feet. So there's a crawl space. So they're not as complicated as like I say, foundations and a lot of grading. So it's not too much to just grade it, flatten it out pretty much, and dig the perimeter around.
Got it. So a lot of times I was actually in a big mastermind group, and people were asking me about properties in different cities, different states even. And one of the things that people should be very, very considerable of, or considering, is everyone loves a big house on the mountains or a hill, looking over a castle or something like that. But what's some of the costs that can come with having, when we say in grade, is the degree of slope, the angle at which, if it's not flat, if it's a little elevated, your house manufactured home can't go on something that's a little slanted at an angle. It's got to be level. For the foundation has to be level for the house to stand on. You can't have it a little lopsided, because that can mean the soil, right? What can happen if it's not flat?
Yes, so that's where we're dependent on the engineer that works close with the architect. They're going to lay all that out. Sometimes there's dirt that's not good. It could have been on a landfill. It could have been whatever. And there's been cases where they make you move tons of dirt and replace it. That wouldn't be the case in California, because all that's pretty straightforward. But there have been people that have bought land that had issues in the dirt, hundreds of feet under, water tables and all kind of stuff. So yeah, the engineer, that's going to pretty much be his deal. And yes. Got
it. Okay. Could I ask, just in your experience, does that, when people are looking, like most of the lots that I sell are in residential areas, the percentages of being concerned about that in an area where your land is right next to a house, is that much lower than, let's say, you're buying in an area that is, mostly like a little bit more rural?
Yeah, well, I would say so. The lots that you sell, they're all good.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
So I like that you do your research, because when I get into all this, there's not much to do but to do a survey, do your tabs, and just start building something, So I like it because you keep it simple, and so we can move forward.
Got it. Okay, definitely. Well, folks, that is something that I'm going to definitely probably clip and put that there. you know, he's bought property from me, so he knows whether I'm kicking the can or I'm actually selling you something. I'm not a snake oil salesman. So the good thing about it is that our lots are flat. They're in neighborhoods. They're in areas with utilities. They have services already brought to them. For the most part, the property lines are already kind of lined out, and it makes it much easier on the build that it's mostly flat land. So it's not saying you can't go buy hills, you know, land that doesn't mean that. It's just that this is all about educating you that you have to understand there are certain specifications when you build, and you have to have a certain amount of feet in the front, feet in the side, and feet in the back that you are going to have to adhere to. So if your lot is really big or a little bit smaller, you got to make sure you check what those setbacks are, right? Hey guys, so Phil Davis here. I'm just cutting into the video right now with Lavelle. I just want to give you all some visuals to what we're talking about when we're speaking about setbacks. So, you know, a setback, again, whenever you're doing any kind of building or you're looking to establish a structure, the setback here is, again, in your yard, front yard, side yard. Here's a little picture here. And when you're looking at a vacant land, like we do have corner lots or a lot itself, the front lot line is what we're talking about. Front lot line here over on the left where the front yard is, and the side, and then the rear, and then the other side here at the bottom. So the setbacks are generally how much space that your front yard, your front door, your front line of the building of a property, when you put a mobile home or manufactured home or a home, conventional home on the property, the edge of the house or the dwelling structure itself has to be a certain amount of feet in the front yard, the side yard, and the rear yard, and then the other side. And again, what we're talking about encroaching is that generally when you purchase a lot, either from me or a land at all, you want to have it surveyed. And what a surveyor will do, he will come out and draw these borders to make your lot, so you can know where your lot lines are. So say you didn't get a lot surveyed and you ended up putting a fence, you know, maybe on the top part of this line. Well, that is someone else's property. And what you would be doing is what they call encroaching, or you're actually taking over part of their land. And that will get you in some legal battles. Sometimes people are okay with it. It's not too big. I mean, if you got a lot of acreage, it may not be a problem. But when you're trying to build a home and someone wants to put like a pool, things like that, that can be a problem. One of the beauties of buying land from Ancestry Lands is that a lot of our properties, they don't have, they're in residential neighborhoods, but some of our properties, you'll be the first one to build where you don't have to worry about someone encroaching on your land and making the land smaller. That doesn't mean that if you have a vacant parcel from us with a home next door, that's going to be an issue, but it's one thing to really get the survey done beforehand. Generally, we don't do the surveys as the owners, because we're not looking to build. A survey is something you want to do right when you're ready to build. But again, the setback we're talking about here, this is just a picture of a regular yard. And again, the side part of the house has to be a certain amount of feet before you actually, you know, let's say this is about, 75 feet, but the minimum may be 25 feet, right? You know, where the arrow is. That's the minimum amount of space that you can be from the edge of this side yard. Now, I don't want people to think of it in a negative way, but what it just means is that sometimes, like in California City, you can actually build on like 40% of the actual property. So that means you have a lot more space that you can use. You think 40% is literally just under half of this property. So this housing structure can be a lot bigger, which means you can move. This can be wider on the side and much more on the front if you want more house than you want yard, if you will. So what that means is that you have to have a certain amount of feet, and that's basically for like fire emergency services, so they can access probably back parts of your yard. But if you are building, there's only 10 feet wide, you know, in a case of emergency, you had a fire and there was something in the rear part of your yard, there wouldn't be any room for ambulance or emergency services, including utility services, to access that side of the yard, especially if there's a fence up and you have a neighbor to one side. So keep that in mind. All right. another thing we want to consider is here you get a little bit more measurements here. So a rear yard setback, okay, and a front yard setback and a side yard setback. So this actually gives you some physical or number lines here. So again, we have the same structure where there's the front part, the front line is here. This is the front of the house. This is the side and this is the rear. So if the front part of the house has 5 to 15 feet of a setback on the side yard, the front has 20 to 25 feet for a setback. That means that from this line here in the front part of the structure, the front wall of the property has to be at least 20 to 25 feet away from the front line, this line here, the edge of the property. The same with the rear. This is 15 to 25 feet. Now, this obviously looks like it's way more than 15 to 25 feet of space, but again, you can go as far up to the 15 to 25 feet. So let's say it is 15 feet. You can actually go up to 15 feet and leave 15 feet of space, which means you can get way more house built on the land. But again, keep those things in mind. And we just want to use this as a visual aid for people to understand what we're talking about when we're saying about setbacks and the reason why they exist. And they're typically everywhere. Okay. There are some things that you do have to consider with a corner lot, because again, sometimes corner lots, which we do sell corner lots, as it says here, corner lots have 2 front lot lines. So the front lot line can actually be, you know, right here on the corner, this side and this side, and there will be a setback that is in both directions for the front lot line on both sides, because you are on a corner. That means that again, this can also be a front. Your front part of your home can be forward facing. So in the example down here, we can see that you do have a front yard requirement, and that is to get you away from the curve. I think that there's 2 reasons for this. One is that when a car is driving, they're going to need, when they're making a right turn here, there is a visibility factor when you're making a right turn or another car is coming, especially if there's a stop sign or kids are riding down on a bike. You need to be able to see across at this angle, and that's why it says clear vision area here. But if the house was, say, more up on a corner, the house would obstruct or block the view of someone that is coming on either side of the actual road here, these cars facing forward. So you actually have to have this 20 feet by 20 feet corner visibility area, because a car coming and making a right turn or a car coming out and making a left turn really would need to see the traffic for that basis. So there are a little bit of considerations there, which is why we tend to sell bigger corner lots, because this little vision clearing area won't be a factor on a lot that is very large. Like we have ones that are 0.19. So that is that's 8,000 square feet, which means that on 40% of that, you can build on probably about just under 4,000 square feet of home. And that means that you have a whole lot. 8,000 square feet is, you know, essentially you have more than half of the land can be used to put a home on, and 4,000 square foot is a really large house. That's almost probably a mansion or a villa, you know, for that kind of feet. So the land is big enough to meet these setbacks from the front yard and side yard. So I think this is something even I've just learned now, is that corner lots have 2 front yards. Front yards meaning that this can be the front or that can be the front. Both sides can be considered the front yard. So your home can actually go forward facing. Your front door can be on one side of the street, or it can be on the main part of the street. It just depends. And I think that's going to be according to, like Lavelle said, the architecture and the engineers, depending on what side with the manufactured home or manual or conventional home that you're going to build, will play a role in. So we just want to make sure we keep that in mind. And some of the other things too is there are height setbacks as far as like how high your roof can be. So there's air setbacks too as well, where you can only build up so much, like as far as second story or third story. If you have like a mixed residential use where you can put condos and apartments, there are limitations depending on its zoning as far as the setback, as far as the height requirements, because you can sometimes not do a 3-story, and this is why you don't see 3-story homes unless they're, sometimes it might be a basement considered a third story, but you don't see above ground 3-story homes is because there is a height setback. So I hope you folks got a little bit of more information, a little in-depth knowledge. And again, at Ancestry Lands, we want to make sure that we educate our landowners or people who are interested in buying land. We hope that you sincerely buy from us because we are a family operated business. We have bought all the properties that we own. We put our skin in the game and we only sell what we own. And again, we want to make sure that we educate people because there's so much to just buying land than making a buck. We really want to value ownership. And that's what we're about. Ownership, one generation to the next. Ancestry Land. So let's tune back into our video. Those setbacks are, right?
Yes.
All right, good. Yes. So folks, I really want to tell everybody we're going to keep it short right there. And I want everybody, we're going to keep it short because you know why? We're going to have Lavelle back. We're going to talk about more things building. You're going to have to wait. That's what you're going to have to do. And you're going to have to listen to more of what Lavelle has to say about that. He's going to educate you on all things related to what he does. So that way you can come back to him and talk to him and maybe do business with him. Have a man who is telling you the ins and outs, the inside of what most people will have you pay. And they probably still won't tell you. They're just going to charge you. We want to tell you someone that you can rely on and ask Lavelle, ask Mr. Madden what he thinks about it. And that's your guy who you can rely on, all right? The people's champion, right?
Yes. And I do want to say I'm connected with the Quarrels. They're a group of brothers in California. They build West Angeles. They build mostly all the retirement homes in Los Angeles, 40 units up to 5 stories. So I have some of the best builders that their whole family of builders. So I'm really backed by some solid people that I started out with in my career in California. So you guys are in good hands.
So, I mean, guys, look, what other land person is bringing you stuff like this? So there are a lot of people out there, new construction, and we're seeing new construction homes that are just faulty, shabby buildings. There's so many reports out about it, and we're trying to, you got a land guy bringing you construction knowledge, construction resources. So listen, I'm going to tell everybody, please do not blow up Lavelle's phone with nonsense. Call him with real questions. We want to make sure you're utilizing his time well. Lavelle, thank you so much for, showing up and just letting people build that trust with the people. There's people all over the US and actually international that watch our channel. And it's something that even international investors, they should know. And I would hope anyone is going to reach out to Lavelle and his company and his business and his connections with people who are trustworthy and people I vouch for. I vouch for Lavelle. He's good. He's on time with everything that he does, and he's open and honest. So he's a great person. I love to have as a resource.
Thanks, sir. Same
and I want everybody to come back again for our next series. I'm not going to let you know the day. You're just going to have to wait. That's the best part about it. Like, share, subscribe, folks. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. I'm your Uncle Phil, signing off. Now go buy some land and have this man build it for you. All right?
Yes.
Take care, folks. Signing out.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.